instrumental or founder of ICS Theatre. And our relationship goes back 14 years from now when EPIC celebrated South Asian Theatre Festival for the second year. Not only Miss Krishnani, but also their entire family, like Narendra and their two beautiful daughters, Nikha and Karisma, was devoted a lot of their time over 14 years, not only to give support to the festival, but also participating in few performances for EPIC, even traveling to India with the team. So, and also, I like to mention that Ms. Krishnani was a joint coordinator of the festival at one point of time. So all these 14 years, I strongly believe that only theater were able to keep us such a strong relationship. And I hope that we'll continue doing so in future too. So with that said, I would like to introduce Mrs. Barkha Krishnani to introduce ICS Theatre. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipanda. At the very outset, on behalf of ICS and ICS Theatre, I would like to congratulate Epic Actors Workshop on the 15th anniversary celebration of the South Asian Theatre Festival. We thank you for this platform today. It is a proud moment for all of us in the theatre community and for me personally, having been a part of this journey for 14 years myself. I was introduced to Epic Actors 14 years back by the encouragement of Pinky Ghoshal, a very dear friend and my guru. That was the beginning of a relationship which is still very strong with Dipanda and the Epic family. I have also been a part of the Indian Cultural Society of East Brunswick for many years. Around early 2014, a group of us decided to give an opportunity to our large member base to experiment with theater. And for many of them, in their own words, relive the days when they did theater in school and college. But there were some who had never set foot on stage ever before. And this was the genesis of ICS Theatre. Over the course of the past 6 years, under the direction and guidance of Dr. Richmond and Mr. Dattani, people consider us to be a passionate and accomplished theatre group. 10 productions in 5 years is a testament to this passion and commitment. ICS thanks Dr. Richmond and Mr. Dattani. Our very first production, Tartuffe, was featured at the South Asian Theatre Festival. And since then, the collaboration between Epic Actors and ICST has been strong and ongoing. Theatre is beyond any one single individual, says Dr. Richmond, and it is very true. We have dedicated teams that ensure we keep the ball in play. Audiences don't necessarily know what goes on behind the scenes in a community theatre group. The theatre group is not just actors. There are marketing, publicity, music, general admin, prop, set, stage management, and guidance teams that put in long hours to make each production a success. A big shout out and thank you to everyone who has been a part of ICS Theatre's journey. Like Epic Actors Workshop.
Going off mute.
Like Epic Actors Workshop, ICS Theatre stands together with communities and the Black Lives Matter movement. Also, ICS Theatre has been active during the lockdown, and I'm pleased to say that our very own in-house production will be showcased next weekend. Again, I would like to congratulate ICS for 20 years, ICST for 6 years, and Epic Actors Workshop for their 15-year anniversary. Bravo. Thank you.
Thank you, Barkha. Now I'd like to welcome Professor Arnob Banerjee. Arnob is an assistant professor of theater arts at the Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. Arnob received his PhD in theater and performance studies from the University of Georgia, where his guide and mentor was Professor Farley Richmond. We would like Arnob to introduce Professor Richmond.
Thank you, Gargidik, and thank you, Dipamda and Barkhaji, for those introductions earlier about the festival. It's really heartening to see that we as a community, a South Asian community, we are recognizing the efforts of African Americans in this country in doing what they have done. And happy Juneteenth to all of us. Let us all collectively learn and celebrate the legacies on which this country and the foundations on which this country is built. And now it's my extreme pleasure and delight to introduce Dr. Farley Richmond, my mentor and guide from the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. Dr. Richmond is arguably one of the founders of the discipline of Indian theater as it is studied in the United States. He was the first person who embarked on a systemic study of Indian performance from the United States when he started his journey from New York City towards India as a Fulbright scholar sometime in the 1960s. Over the years, Dr. Richmond has created several essays as well as a book on Indian performance, which looks at the whole spectrum of Indian performance, right from political performance as it happens in India today, English language theater in India, which has been a significant part of Dr. Richmond's body of work on Indian theater, besides classical Indian theater as well. Dr. Richmond is one of the world's foremost authorities on Kudiyattam, the first millennia classical Sanskrit theater genre, which has had a continuous history of performance in India, particularly in the temple theaters of Kerala in Southwest India. Dr. Richmond is an expert on the Hasta Lakshana Dipika, or the hand gesture manual that is used extensively in Kudiyattam, as well as other classical Indian art forms, primarily in South India. Dr. Richmond's association with the Epic Actors Workshop and the South Asian Theatre Festival goes back a few years as well. It was through him that I first learned about this festival and about the work that Dr. Ray and everyone else in Epic Actors Workshop was doing in celebrating critical creative citizenship of the South Asian American diasporic community. And it is under Dr. Richmond's guidance that I was able to participate in a couple of productions that the SATF put together with Epic Actors Workshop. The Little Clay Cart and Sacrifice. Little Clay Cart, of course, the classical Sanskrit play, Mritchakatik. And Dr. Richmond added a completely different new spin to it. And it was fascinating to see a giant, such a huge play truncated to fit the requirements of a contemporary staging. Same with Tagore's Sacrifice, Bishorjon, an a very well-known text, but considered to be very difficult to be translated. Dr. Richmond took on the impossible charge, got a translation, and we were able to, Epic Actors Workshop put together a lovely production of it. Dr. Richmond has been a director for most of his life, and the ease with which he adapts and takes works from a completely different milieu and brings it to a completely different set of audience members, not necessarily attuned with the practices of classical Indian or contemporary or modern Indian theater, it bears testament to his directing prowess and his style of adapting Indian performances to a completely different socioeconomic, sociocultural context reminds me of a particular way of directing theater that I would like to call glocal, looking at the global message in a theater piece and making it local for a particular audience. So without further ado, here is Dr. Farley Richmond. Thank you so much.
Rubbish.
Now, this is serious, Marianne.
Get on with it, Marianne. Your father doesn't mean it. He's only joking.
Will you listen?
No, no good. We don't believe you.
I'm starting to get annoyed.
All right, we do believe you then. In which case, shame on you. You look quite normal, and
to accept.
That's your advice?
It is.
You mean it?
Certainly. I mean, it's a handsome offer. Well worth your attention.
I guess I'd better follow your advice then.
Well, I don't think it'll be too hard for you.
No harder than it was for you to give it.
Oh, but I did so in the hopes of giving pleasure.
Whereas I shall now follow it to please you.
I deserve to be struck dead on the spot and treated like a miserable nothing if I don't think of some brilliant idea. And when I do, no power on earth will stop me.
Oh, please, there's no need to exaggerate. It's only a suggestion of your father's. Not every resolution's carried out. There's many a slip.
I must foil this swine's plots.
Now, take it easy. Let your stepmother deal with him as she's dealing with your father.
By avoiding you, I will not be seen with them.
No! I defy them all. You will spend time with them. My greatest pleasure is to make them angry. I want you to be seen with her constantly. And that's not all. To show them what I think, I am going to make you my sole heir and waste no time in handing over all my worldly goods to you. You are my friend. You will be my son-in-law, dearer to me by far than my own son, wife, or any relations. Won't you please accept my offer? No, I would say nothing because it couldn't happen.
This delusion has lasted far too long and I'm tired of being accused of lying. It's high time I give myself the satisfaction of showing you everything we said is true.
All right, I'll take you at your word. Let's see you keep your promise.
I think I can easily remove your scruples. This will be totally secret, I assure you. If only you do a great big noise about it. Sinning in silence is no sin at all.
All right. I see there's no alternative but to submit and give you what you want. Clearly you can't be happy with the promise and nothing else will do. I can't deny I don't want to go this far, but I do it against my better judgment. Since you insist on making me and believe in my assurances, I must grit my teeth and try to keep you happy.
Welcome, Farley. That play has made me laugh so much when I was sitting in the audience. It is our privilege to have you at EPIC's event. Today, we will be talking about your directed play Tartuffe, the video snippets of which we just saw, that you directed with ICS Theatre at the South Asian Theatre Festival. So Farley, today our theme for discussion is adaptations and adapted plays. So what I wanted to ask you is that you decided to do a play that was first written in French and then translated into English. And furthermore, you turned these characters into Indian characters and you made the setting to be an Indian setting. So it's almost like it was thrice removed from the original, but still had its tremendous comic impact. Please share with us how you came about doing this play and adapted it and made it feel so Indian.
Thank you so much, Gargi. This is very kind and very kind words, all of you. Thank you for your thoughts about my career and my activities in connection with these great organizations, ICS and EPIC Actors Workshop. And so I'll try to give you a short version of how I got involved with Tartuffe. ICS asked, and Barkha Kishnani, who's been wonderful to have as an assistant and as a director and a producer for these works. The point of doing the play was came to me very many decades ago, actually, when I was at Michigan State. That was in the 70s. And I came up with the idea that there were, at the time, it was after the Beatles phenomena, and the number of gurus who had come to America and who were holding workshops and training and procedures to try to enliven people's spirits, let's put it mildly. And so it struck me that the charlatanism that was going on at times in some camps suggested that one could put this play in an Indian setting with a guru trying to infiltrate Western ideas through his or her approach. And so what I did was I tried to bring that to life in that production. And essentially the idea was that as it resonates right now, especially when you have a person in the White House who, and I hate to talk politics, but I have to, who has promoted a charlatanistic view of our country and our activities in this country, and has, in fact, Tartuffe himself is another name for Tartuffe is imposter.
Sure. Yes.
And so essentially the idea here is to do the play, but set it in a North Indian setting or in Rajasthan, because I was working with Indian actors, and so we couldn't put it in an American setting or a French setting, but it seemed appropriate to put it in an Indian setting and to allow this imposter to have infiltrated the household of a father who is anything but sensible, and a wife who is the impeccable, sensible person in that family. And so the two actors that we have here, the wife and the husband, can say something more about this piece, and better than I can, because they were in the shoes of the characters who played those roles.
Yes, no, we will definitely ask them. But before that, I just wanted to quickly touch upon the set of the play. You used a garden setting, but it was like one single set throughout the play.
Yeah, yes. The actual play itself does not specify that these scenes are in different rooms in the household. And so in order to bring some sense of the play, I thought it was like a garden party, that the family was having a garden party.
Yes.
With the mother especially, who comes to visit, mother of the husband. And so the idea was they could hide behind bushes to spy on each other. And they could, in fact, sit in a kind of casual arrangement while the imposter started infiltrating their lives, and eventually had to be cast out.
Excellent. Welcome, Jyoti and Mazhar. Let's talk to you. You were the lead characters of this play. So I have heard that this play was your first entry into theater. So tell us a little bit about, your first day at rehearsal. Here you are, you've never acted before or never done very serious theater, but you're walking into a rehearsal room with Dr. Richman. Tell us, how did that feel?
Wow. Wow, man. Thank you, Gargi, much. And I'm very glad to be a part of this talk. And that video brought back so, and it's like the whole rush of experiences that we rehearsal of Tartuffe. So basically, it was my very first play, and this is going to be. I did not know anything about auditions. I did not know anything about direct assistant writers, and there's a certain language you have to speak in. I was very naive when I walked in slate, and as I missed a couple of, the first few days of audition, so I really had missed out on a lot that was actually shared by Dr. Farley with the rest of the cast members. So my first day, I walk in, I knew familiar faces, and some were new to me, and we made friends as the play rehearsal went on. I was quiet and still trying to understand. And as the day progress went on, it was like, okay, this is Almer, this is somebody in the play, and Rickens, and I have to work on a pronunciations. I have to work on learning the lines. I have to work on my. It was from blank slate to nervousness to funny movements, and the other person is doing things that is making you laugh, and the other person is saying things that you have to react, and sometimes blanks just wait. So it was a lot. It was like a roller coaster ride, and it was really fun. It was a lot of fun, and so much today, so much learning from your co-actors, and they're giving their best. They're bringing some energy, and you have to perform. So it was a lot of emotions, of nervousness, excitement. You're blank. You're like, okay. So it was fun. It was fun. All that I can take was a whole cloud of thoughts going through your mind. And as I'm watching the video, it's like, oh my God, we did that.
Thank you, Jyoti. There are some technological challenges. It happens all the time. We are having some technical issues with your video and voice coming through, but I think I still got the essence that what you tried to say was there was a lot of learning, but it was a fun ride. You learned through a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. You did that theater. So let's go to Mazhar. Mazhar, share some of your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Salam. Hello. And as not only in the play, but life, the wife is always right. She knows better. So I agree to what Jyoti said. That yes, when we went, and I was lucky that I knew Jyoti beforehand. You know, we were friends even before we went for the play. So it helped us during the rehearsals, and you know, as and how we both grew together as characters and as the play progressed.
Yeah.
But when we first went for the auditions or the rehearsals, it's like we just did not know what was happening. From learning the stage lingo, stage left, stage right, who's left, who's right. When I stand this way, my left and right changes, you know. So getting used to that there is a focal point, you have to go around that things. So starting with those basic things from there, and then slowly understanding. And once when the dust of excitement and, oh, I'm in a play and this and that, everything, once that's settled down, then you realize you're getting into a more serious business. It's fun, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something greater than we have not even imagined, but we will see something greater, which the director has envisioned. And I would really be thankful to Dr. Farley because he saw an organ in me. Otherwise, I just didn't know what was happening, you know. So that's how it is. We just don't know what we are. But then a director sees, guides us throughout the process. So it was not only learning lines or memorizing lines. It's like saying what they mean and making that sense out, so that when you're talking, you're not talking to one person, but it's a big audience out there whom you're talking to.
Sure.
So such things like that. So as and how we started learning, we went along with it. Then with the co-actors, when you're working with a co-actor, it's not like, okay, bol diya ho gaya. They say something, they give you give and take. If somebody forgets a line, how you have to bring back things to it. Keep the show going on. Audience doesn't know what is happening. We know. So even if a line is dropped, we can't say, oh, you forgot the line. No.
Correct.
Just keep the thing rolling, you know.
Yes, yes.
And especially, at least for me, the first time it was that rawness, you know, that seeing something, everything new. And I'm sure Dr. Farley would have realized that there was clay with him, which he was trying to make. And I'm really so glad that slowly, steadily, a character of Orgon was built. We realized we were working on, and not only me, I believe all of us were new actors. So every character, we slowly started getting the sense of it, that this is how we are going to do. And then the clay and the play started taking shape for it, you know. And then when we saw the set, OMG, we realized, wow, in this one setting, we'll be coming in, going out, so many things happening. As Dr. Farley said, there will be eavesdropping and things and like that, and reacting to it. And I felt even more richer when I saw everything, you know, that yes, I am Orgon, that rich guy who has everything in front of me. Yeah. And trust me, on the day of the show, all the Devi Devtas in the sky, all the gods, Vaheguru, Allah, whatever you name it, they all were disturbed by me. They all were saying that this guy needs something, give it to him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was fun doing the play. And thanks to Dr. Farley, Barkha, and everyone, it was an experience of a lifetime. And it's like the first love for me, at least Tartuffe. It is my first love.
What is the one, if I were to ask you, like, what is that one important acting lesson that you took away for your, as a, growing, for your self-growth as an actor?
Sure. See, there were many things which we learned, but there were a couple of things which were really, it stays with you. So one of them was that once you say your dialogue and you finish, generally now of course maybe, but the first time we realized, oh, I said it, it's okay, I'm done. Now when somebody else is saying, people are looking at them. So you tend to either zone out, or you tend to, start shifting, or, things start coming in your mind, thoughts, and then you start thinking and reacting to those thoughts rather than where you are. So Dr. Farley always said, no. Even if you're standing there, you are still, people can see you. You think nobody sees you, but people see you. So if you shift your leg, if you do like fixing your pagadi, or you suddenly realize, oh, this is not right, so you try to fix it, it doesn't work. You are taking audience's attention away. So that is one thing which I learned. If idhar udhar tumne dekha, audience ko pata nahi kidhar dekhne ka. So you stay where you are, stay in the character. You are orgone from the time the play starts till the end of the play. You are orgone. So stay even under the table. You are orgone.
Yes.
Stay in the character.
Right.
And the most important was projection. In rehearsals, we think we are talking one-on-one, but later on we realize it's a huge place, a huge auditorium. Mics are there, but still you have to talk to everyone.
Yes.
So projection is which is still learned there, still learning, and I believe it will always stay. The learning part of that will remain.
Thank you so much. Can we go to Jyoti? Jyoti, one quick soundbite about the most important acting lesson that you took away. I know Jyoti is having some technical challenges.
Hello.
Yes. Did you hear me? One quick soundbite about an important acting lesson that you took away.
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All our play practices happen in the basement, and thank you, Barkha, for that. So we were like more than 10 cast members. All we were clear. So when we had our tech rehearsal, we realized it's a challenge for us. So we need project, so our voice can travel and the audience at the back seat can hear us. So that was the biggest challenge for me. I mean, so I had to learn to project. So that was the biggest learning thing. And also to stay in the character. Sometimes the monologues went on, and then you just waiting for the last word. And then to be in the character, to stay composed, and it's really, you need to warm up before you really go on the stage. Those were really big learning experiences for me, and
thank you.
As we did once, the second performance, by third time you're getting better. So that was really the biggest thing I took from that.
Thank you. Voice projection, staying in character. Thank you. Arnob, would you like to chime in with a comment, or Dr. Richmond?
I
think Arnob, you're on mute.
Yeah. I think I didn't get to see this production. Dr. Richmond and I were discussing it as he was working on it, and we're talking about him moving it to an Indian location, and both of us. I think I took a class with him where we discussed Tartuffe, so I was familiar with the play, quite familiar with the play. But just looking at the snippet and hearing from the actors, a couple of first-time actors, it seems. I'm kind of biting my fingers here a little bit. I want to see this show. I want to see the thrill that everyone is talking about, having seen a performance of what it certainly sounds like of that caliber. To echo Dr. Richmond's point, I mean, this play is, this whole imposter idea. It's fit for our time now. But with the kind of religious charlatanism that is fairly rampant actually in India, this play has always spoken to me as if, as if an Indian play as well. And what is interesting is arguably one of the first plays in the Bengali language was also a Molière play that was performed in the 18th century. So Molière and Bengali theater seems to have had a bit of a relationship for as long as the genres have existed.
Yes.
So yeah, I wish I could have seen this thing, but yeah, sounds amazing, to be very honest.
Thank you, Arnab. Dr. Richmond, any comments or words?
Yes, just a quick note for your audience. Basically, the strength of any production is the actors. And the director is kind of on the sideline in most cases. That the whole point for the director is to bring the actors to a point where they can perform the characters convincingly. And once they do that, then it's perfect. But essentially the director falls behind as the actors go forward, and the playwrights depend upon actors to bring their characters to life. That's the main thing.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Richmond. Thank you, Arnab, Jyoti, Mazhar. Thank you for being a part of this show and sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and your wisdom. Now we would like to showcase ICS Theatre's productions directed by Sahitya Academy Award winner, Mr. Mahesh Dattani. And to introduce him, we had asked Professor Partha Chatterjee of Columbia University to say a few words about Mr. Dattani. Incidentally, Partha Chatterjee and Mahesh Dattani had collaborated on a play at Columbia University a couple of years ago. Dr. Partha Chatterjee is a political theorist and a historian. He is the author of more than 20 books, monographs, and edited volumes, and is a founding member of the Subaltern Studies Collective. He received the Fukuoka Asian Culture Prize in 2009 for an outstanding achievement in the field of Asian studies. But that is the academic side of Dr. Chatterjee. Partha Chatterjee is also an actor, a playwright, and a poet. Let's take a listen.
Thank you very much. I feel really privileged to be introducing Mahesh Dattani to you for this event. Mahesh Dattani, as all of you probably know, is India's leading English language playwright. He is also a theatre director, a screenplay writer, and a film director. I was familiar with Mahesh's English plays over a fair length of time, and in particular his play Final Solutions, which actually won him the Sahitya Academy Award in India, which is the highest literary award in India, I think in the late 90s sometime, 98 or 99. Anyway, so Mahesh Dattani was indeed a very, very well-known figure in Indian theatre. I came to know him over a period of 6 weeks when we worked together in New York on a play. This was a play which I had written based on Rabindranath Tagore's novel, Choker Bali. I had originally written this in Bangla, and then I translated it into English to be produced by Barnard College and Columbia University Theatre Department. And so Mahesh was called to direct his play. And he arrived, I remember, in January 2015. It was bitterly cold, it was snowing, and so it was in that sort of atmosphere that we began to work on this play, auditioning and then rehearsals and so on over a period of 6 weeks. I remember, I think it was probably the first day of rehearsals. The rehearsals were usually from 4 to 10 o'clock at night. So rehearsals got over, and then Mahesh said he was feeling hungry, so could we go out and eat somewhere? Now, some of you probably know that that part of the Upper West Side, near Columbia, is not exactly a place where eating places are open late at night. So we walked in this cold, very cold weather. We walked and all the places were shut until finally we went into a diner. It's actually quite a famous diner because it's a tourist spot called Tom's Restaurant on Broadway and 12th Street. And that was the only place which was open. It was 11 o'clock at night. And we ate, I think, hamburgers or something, and talked theater. About his theater, I think I should tell you, since all of you are theater enthusiasts, what I came to know of Mahesh's theatrical techniques and the way he worked as a director. This play which I had written, Chokarbali, was written really as a modern play. In fact, it used a lot of cinematic techniques, very, very brief, short scenes. And it depended very much, in the original version, it depended very much on quick zonal lighting changes to switch from one scene to another. So a lot of lighting design was complicated, and it depended very much on a good lighting design. Now, when Mahesh started work on this, I realized that he didn't want to go that way at all. He wanted to do this play more in what the style which has come to be known as theatre of roots in India, which is really based on a traditional performance style where there is very flat lighting. The lighting doesn't change at all. All the actors sit around on the side of the stage and walk on to the center whenever they are called upon to play in the scene. Musicians sit live music, musicians sit on the side. So Mahesh wanted to produce this in this style. Initially, I have to say, I was a bit disappointed and somewhat skeptical of this because I really wanted to project this Tagore story as a very modern story. But then I realized what Mahesh was doing. One of the innovations I tried out in this play was to have the entire story narrated, not by any authorial voice, but by the domestic staff of this very wealthy family. That's where the play is set. And the domestic staff narrate this whole story. Mahesh liked this idea. But what he did was, and this is one of the really amazing things he managed to do, he introduced a character called the washerwoman. Now there was a reference to a washerwoman, but there was really no character with no lines. So he brought on this character, and there was a screen mid-stage, and this washerwoman would wash clothes. Mahesh actually had a whole tub of water on stage, and this woman washed clothes, and from time to time would pull the screen across the stage and pull it back again to indicate these changes of scene. And the one amazing thing that Mahesh did was to have the main character of this play who gets into this illicit extramarital affair, which is what the story was built around. Well, this character was also an amateur photographer, and in fact, the romance with this woman develops through a photo shoot. But Mahesh had this character with his camera and this washerwoman in the washing tub and coming out in her wet clothes, and this guy shooting, photographing. All of this without any words, on the sidelines while the action was going on stage, only to establish this character as someone who was not just a womanizer, but manipulative of women. None of this was in the dialogue anywhere. This was established along the side. What Mahesh did was, and this was another completely new technology that he introduced, along with this very traditional style, was video photograph. This entire scene that was being played on the sidelines was simultaneously projected on stage at the back in a video shot. He also had a prologue shot on video to establish the initial setting of the story. I really thought this whole introduction of the washerwoman was absolutely brilliant. He was also amazing in terms of the pedagogical side of this, of a theatre director, because this play was produced with student actors. These were all students of Barnard and Columbia. They were theatre students, but what Mahesh did was he introduced a style, some of you may be familiar with this, the technique of Michael Chekhov. Some of you might know, Michael Chekhov was actually the nephew of the famous Russian playwright Anton Chekhov. He was in Moscow until the 1930s and then came to the US. He introduced a technique which was very much based on the psychological, bringing out the psychological aspects of the characters. And Mahesh used this pedagogically to train students on how to say their lines and the accompanying gestures and so on. I think the students learned a great deal. I thoroughly enjoyed and learned a great deal from these 6 weeks of working with him. I also got to know him as a very kind, gentle, and immensely likable person. So I said, I feel immensely pleased to be able to introduce you, Mahesh Dattani. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Partha Chatterjee. We learned so much from that introduction about Mahesh Dattani and his work. Now let us watch a few vignettes of the two productions, the first two productions that Dr. Dattani did at the South Asian Theatre Festival based on Chekhov's short stories.
शुरू हो गई सवारी।
इतनी बेवकूफी, इतना बेसहारापन कैसे मुमकिन है जिग्ना में?
जी मोटा बहन, मुमकिन है। हम जैसों के साथ ऐसा सब मुमकिन है।
हम आपके आभारी होंगे अगर आप ये भेंट स्वीकार करें। ये एक प्राचीन अमूल्य मूर्ति है, बहुत अनूठी।
इसकी क्या आवश्यकता है? क्यों लाए हो इसे?
If he says no, read this.
ये गुड़गुड़ के क्या देख रही हो तुम?
तुमसे मतलब? तुम सो जाओ।
एक समय की
और फिर
बिना किसी चेतावनी के, जैसे बंदूक से गोली निकली हो। विश्वास जी ने अपना सर पीछे किया और
बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं, ये कैसे ठीक हो सकता है? ये मैंने क्या कर दिया? ठीक है भाई, छोड़ दो बात को। ये कैसे हो सकता है? तुम मुझे माफ कर दीजिए साहब, मैं बोल देता हूँ। छोड़ दो भाई, छोड़ दो। मैंने आप पे चीखा और गलती से सर मैडम की कसम।
Anton Chekhov. And then we go home and sleep in each other's arms, looking at the moon from a window.
अरे कब तक यहाँ रुकेंगे?
हमें ना बताओ, हम तो बस संटिंग करें। साहब बोलेंगे तब जोड़ देंगे आपके डब्बे। आप उधर यार्ड ऑफिस में जाके पूछो।
एकदम असली पश्मीना है, हमें फिर से साइडिंग पे डाल दिए।
अरे क्या मुझे छोड़ के किसी को वक्त पे पहुंचने की नहीं पड़ी है?
ना बाकी के 40 डब्बे गेहूं के हैं। इस देश में अनाज वक्त पर पहुंचाने की चिंता किसी को ना होती, बल्कि जितनी देर से पहुंचे उतनी भुखमरी, जितनी भुखमरी उतना मुनाफा।
मेरे तो पशु हैं और आप ही के नियमों के मुताबिक आग लगने के डर से कुछ चारा भी नहीं लाए हैं साथ।
पानीपत स्टेशन पे
बेटे, जब हम मेला देखने चले,
हाँ पापा, अगर आपको ठीक समझे।
हमरे बिटवा की शादी है भगवान।
चलो
Welcome Mahesh ji and the cast of Chak De Chekhov and Chekhov Express. Thank you for being with us here on this show. Mahesh ji, you're a master playwright yourself, on top of being a master director. The 3 plays that you have directed at the South Asia Theatre Festival have been 3 adaptations. But we know that they're adaptations only because of the names of the plays, like Chakte Chekhov or Chekhov Express. And for the third one, there was a disclaimer on the playbill. My point being that these stories that you chose to depict were so Indian in their content, in their expression of cultural nuances and social depictions, that it is hard to believe that these are not original Indian plays. Would you please share with us your process of adaptation and how you infused such detailed Indian elements in these plays?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Gargi-ji, for having me on this, and congratulations to Epic Actors Workshop for your 15th year celebrating the South Asian Theatre Festival. And I'm really proud and privileged to have been a part of this for the past 4 years, I think. So thanks for that very pertinent question, because I feel adaptation is a very underrated art. And I'm very happy to hear that you couldn't tell that it's adapted from famous stories. I think it's not how well you transpose it to a setting, it's what does the original say to you? I think when I read these stories, or if I read Lorca, for instance, especially the rural trilogy he's written, I guess we'll come to that a little later, but coming to Chekhov, there's something about Chekhov. In his time, there was the Trans-Siberian railways that were just developing and expanding, and it just changed the socioeconomic culture of Russia. They had a revolution. There was a new party in power with the promise of what looked like democracy. Of course, things changed, and it's very easy to see that kind of society in transition in India as well. So it just spoke to me that this is waiting to be transposed to India. So in that sense, it's not so much like taking a play and saying, okay, now how do I fit this into an Indian context? But looking at plays that speak to us universally and have universal emotions, and then transpose them to local. That's a strange thing, that it has to be universal enough for it to be locally relevant as well. So it was a fun process, and I did not do the adaptations all by myself for the Chekhov stories. Aditya Date, who is very much an ICS theatre member, did a fabulous job of transposing those stories and giving it the local flavor, be it Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh or Lucknow, wherever he took the effort to try and root it, reroute it, reroute. Yes, he did both, I guess. So it has been a collaborative process. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for that, for sharing that with us. Another thing I know many of our audiences at least wanted to know when they were watching your plays, which we thought was a hallmark of Mahesh Dattani's direction, is the visual splendor of your plays. We got transported, as we saw in the snippets that we saw earlier, that we sometimes got transported to a railway station, to different settings of rural and urban India, sometimes to someone's doorstep. Where do you draw your inspiration from to paint this canvas, huge canvas, but brought it within the frame of a stage? Where do you draw that inspiration from?
I think, strange as it may sound, as a playwright, I think the image speaks to me first. I think part of my job as a director, and I think is to help the actors engage the audience's imagination. There's nothing on stage As Partho Chatterjee in that very kind introduction did say, that I sort of stripped everything off and made a very bare bones kind of space. I think it's wonderful when the actors use their creativity and imagination to give us spaces, to create those spaces for us as audiences. And I think the audience is more than willing to receive it when actors do it with sincerity. And I'm very happy to hear that your audiences and you sort of were transported to these spaces. And I think I would give a major portion of that credit to the actors, because ultimately theater, as you well know, is an actor's medium. It's not as if the director is behind the stage conducting the rhythm and pace of the thing. It's entirely up to the actors and the relationship they have with their audience. My job as a director is to facilitate the sparking off of that imagination, which provide those images. I think that to me as a director, I feel it's my responsibility, which I take very seriously, to ensure that the actor's imagination is fired. And as Pali mentioned, it's ultimately the director lets go and the actors take things forward, and one has to help them with that journey.
Right. So talking about actors, let's go to your cast of the Chekhov stories. Welcome, Shailendra, Triven, and Sanjay. Thank you for being here with us. Shailendra, I'll start with you. You played two very tragic characters, right? One was the carriage driver in Misery, and the other, the animal seller. Can you tell us a little bit about your preparation? You've lived in India, so did you draw from any of your experiences there?
Sure. But first of all, let me start by saying congratulations to Epic Actors Workshop for providing the theater community with this wonderful platform. So congratulations and on this second episode. And we hope to see more of those. So yes, you're right, Gargi. So I played two characters in this particular segment that we just saw. Both were kind of tragic, but in a very different way. I mean, the one character, the cattle owner, he was more of an assertive father also. And the other one was more of a poor and sort of invisible Tangewala, invisible to the world. Nobody kind of knew his presence, and that's how he was. I mean, one of them exactly knew how to get around and get things done. The other one was more of a lost soul. But one thing I did find common between the two, that both had to part with their sons. Now, the cattle owner decides to let his son go and fulfill his dreams. The other one loses his son to death. So in one way, he's separated from his sons in different ways. But that is something that I found as a common element between the two characters.
Yeah.
As far as the preparation is concerned, as I guess some of you probably will relate to it, we all start with an in-depth character analysis. We try to understand what the character wants, in that story or in that play, and starting from the physical description all the way to the objectives of the character. What is the character really trying to achieve? Now, combining that with various other techniques that we learned over the years from Mr. Dattani, Dr. Farley, and we've been privileged to have directors like these, that they taught us a lot. That helped me as well to prepare for these characters. But one technique I do want to mention that helped me a lot more for these characters was to be more aware of the inner and outer tempo of the character. And by that, what I mean is, what is the character thinking inside? What is the character's inner experience versus what the character is expressing to the outside world? So that helped me present the emotions and intensity of these two characters. That was really helpful for these particular roles. And one thing I do want to mention, though, that even though the father who is mourning his son's death, even though it was a very tragic story, and then you could easily feel that, yes, it's very sad and all that. But also part of the video that we just saw, there is a little clip of a poem that is at the very end of the story. Now, it is beautifully written, like Mr. Dattani also said, it's beautifully written. But to me, when I was reading that story, and then when I got to the very end, when I read that poem, and when I was performing that, it kind of gave me a sense of accomplishment for that character. I mean, it felt complete, so that's something that I really enjoyed, even though it's a tragic story, but I felt like it's a complete story with that poem. Obviously, once we understood what the poem meant, it took us a while to understand that, the way it was written. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Indra. Let's go to Triveni. Triveni, you played multiple roles in both the Chekhov adaptations, some of them cameos, but they were all quite memorable. Which is your favorite and why so?
Oh, yeah. My favorite was actually when I was cast as a 5-year-old kid on this strange journey with his parents. And it was just this most, you see a little child with this gleeful look looking out of the window, staring out of the window, but just absolutely fascinating. I mean, growing up in Bombay in the early 70s, the single most fascinating thing in your life was taking a train journey with your parents. And that is once you get past who sits by the window, and, it just brought back my childhood euphoria back again. It was just absolutely incredible.
Which we can all relate.
Yes. In fact, you mentioned something about visuals when we were talking to Maheshji. I wanted to bring up the props that we used for most of our Chekhov plays were crates. And during our initial performance with Chak De Chekhov, suddenly 100 odd crates suddenly materialized, and we were like, what are we going to do with these guys? And then slowly and surely we started zip tying them vertically, horizontally, in all different shapes and sizes, and they ended up being the bed, the windows, the doors, the mela props, which is fantastic, and even the bleachers in the Achu scene, which was absolutely incredible.
I remember that. We were all fascinated when you guys started bringing in those milk crates. We were all wondering, like, what is going to happen with those milk crates? And then when we saw what you did on stage and the way you executed, it was flawless and everything came to life. It was beautifully done. But thanks to the actors also who navigated through all those.
Yeah, I would like to give a shout out to our prop guy, Shri. Just absolutely phenomenal. We spent countless afternoons spray painting them turmeric yellow. It was just absolutely brilliant.
Very, very much so. Let's go to Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay.
Yeah. Hi, good. And thank you for having me here.
Oh, it is our pleasure. Thank you for being here. You've been cast in comic roles, whether Pestonji in The Gift or as the government officer in Achu. How do you differentiate between comedy and drama? And anything specific that you've discovered for yourself in this process?
Yeah, so when we were watching the clips for both, Pestonji in Chi and Vishwas Thalpade in Hachu, it reminded me of the workshop we did before we started CDC. We did a workshop on Lecoq's levels of tension, like, for example, exhaustion, alert, suspense. And so all these different levels of tension, what I got out of the workshop was changes in the levels of tension will help bring out comedy. So initially, when I was reading the script, I was looking for these changes in tension and then trying it out at rehearsals. So initially, it was very consciously I was doing it, but then over time, it became quite natural. And I guess that helped in bringing out the comedy over there. And also, like Hachu, I remember, especially Hachu, I grew up in India, in the Times of India, reading R.K. Lakshman's cartoon series on the Common Man. You Said It by Lakshman. So that was the image I kept in mind. And that's the essence I tried to get out, like the insecurities, the joys, the fears of the common man. So that is what how I tried to prepare for Achilles Chakde Chekhov and the clips that you saw. When it comes to drama, then again, I would again fall back on the workshops we've done. I would analyze a script or try out. We've done a workshop on Michael Chekhov's archetypal gestures, the reach, the pull, the push, the lift, and getting those based on the script, getting those emotions out, preparing for that emotion, and deciding how much to veil that emotion is probably what helps with drama, at least. And again, I do this very consciously initially on till it becomes quite natural.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shailendra, Triven, and Sanjay, for sharing your stories and your experiences. We will now go to the third production that Mr. Dattani directed with ICS Theatre, which is Rakt Phera. And we will see some vignettes from that production.
कब चले, कब रुक जाए, कब दौड़ने लगे, अपनी मर्जी की मालकिन है।
ऐसे क्यों कहते हो जी? बहन है वो हमारी।
कुछ पता है तभी तो बोल रहा हूँ।
ये पता है?
सपनों में देख लो अपने।
क्या क्या होवे है जानती है? एक घर वाला, कुछ बच्चे और बाकी औरत और दुनिया के बीच 2 गज चौड़ी दीवार।
नदियों के इलाके से थी, बताती थी 3 नदियों का संगम होता था उसके गांव में।
तेरी माँ खुद कोई नदी से कम थी के?
पर भाग में तो उसका ये बंजर जमीन ही लिखी थी ना, खा गई उसको जैसे सबको खाती है, पानी सोख लेती है बदन से। अरे मैयारी, इतने जोर से ना खींच।
साथ में? हाँ, साथ में। आजा।
है तुझ पे। जानती हूँ।
पर तू ये ना जानती, मारा बस चले तो सारी जिंदगी इसी लाल में रखे तुझे।
जाना मुझे, रेत को रक्त से रंगने का वक्त आ गयो रे।
आंगन
Phera. Welcome, Mahesh ji and the cast of Rakt Phera. Mahesh ji, in this play, which was originally the Spanish play written by Garcia Lorca called Blood Wedding, you again brought it home for us by setting it in rural Rajasthan. What struck us is how you adapted the role of women caught and trapped in their lives, in their stifling lives, and the repression that is rampant in the society. Tell us how you adapted it to our Indian society and set the roles of women amongst the Rajasthani rural women.
Thanks, Gargi. Well, again, you said it. It's all there in Lorca's play. The kind of empathy he had towards women, the women in rural Spain in earlier 20th century. I think that resonates so well and so strongly with the position of women in ours. It's such a complex, complicated gender relationship we have. There's the cultural relationship, there's the relationship of expectations, the expectations for men, expectations of women, and sometimes these collide. I think that was the easy part in the adaptation. I think the almost impossible task was the transposition of Lorca's poetry and his imagery, which seemed just an impossible task. And I have to thank a young, very talented writer and actor who was a student of mine, Abhinav Grover, who took on the challenge of adapting Bodas the Sangre, Blood Wedding, into Rakt Phera. And very earlier on, I think I told him, look, let's not even try to translate the poetry, because first of all, we don't understand Spanish. We're seeing it from the English language. And I believe there has never been a successful English language production of Blood Wedding, and I could see why. So I think Abhinav had this task of actually rewriting the poetry. So the songs that you just heard are written by Abhinav, and they're not anywhere an adaptation of Lorca's lyricism, which would be impossible. We did look at the Spanish text just to understand the rhyming schemes and whatnot. There was so much consonance and assonance that we decided this would be impossible. We would fail miserably if we even attempted something like that. So it was a difficult process, a challenging one. But I'm very grateful for all the talent that I had available with me, right from Abhinav and also Barkha, who has always supported any proposition I make to ICS and say, let's do this play. And she's always sort of heard me out before she says yes or no as a producer of the play, as representing ICS. And I think that the level of trust which they have in me and the process, I think that's, I would say that contributes a great deal to the fruition of these ideas and thoughts and all the hard work that goes into it.
Yeah, and the testament is, in the successful productions that you did, that, if the collaboration didn't work and if it wasn't a collaboration of trust and, relying on each other, then of course it wouldn't work so beautifully. Again, in Rakt Phera, I have to ask this because, we again saw that tremendous visual glory, in the visual depiction of the play. We know that, Lorca in his times, in his plays, had defied realism and realistic sets. And you also used a very stark set with huge rugs, with images of the moon and death coming on as characters, and of course your music, as you said. In one level it seemed so ornate and so elaborate, but at the other level, in its essence, it was so simple. And that's the beautiful part of it all. So would you please tell us a little bit about the specific choices that you made in the visual depiction?
Sure. Well, again, I took my cues from Lorca because he's very, very specific about the color schemes. And he has these very elaborate instructions about white being the predominant color, and of course I couldn't follow his color scheme because the colors speak differently to us. For instance, white may speak as bridal and purity in Spanish culture, whereas in Indian culture it denotes widowhood or sorrow.
Yeah.
So I changed white to red. The predominant color, as you could see, is red in the production, and related colors, all the earthy colors, the oranges and reds and the yellows, making it very earthy and very, in one way, very fecund, because part of the woman's job was to reproduce and carry forth the lineage of men. I'm sorry, yes, that theme was explored in Yerma, but sexual repression was something that got a psychological color to it through the color red, which I tried to sort of use as much of it as I could. And again, I think, I had very, very good, fall back on the production team of ICS. I think Shri worked a great deal on the color palette with me, and the costumes, the choreography. We had Pooja Daga, professional dance choreographer, working on the choreography. So again, in essence, it's all these people coming together which provide the spectacle. But if you really look at it, it's an empty stage, and it's how it gets filled with the story, with all its colors and moods and emotions. I think that's a power of theater. And that, I think, is what we're missing in this post-viral age, is that we don't have that empty space anymore. And that really is a tragedy.
Yeah, in this virtual platform, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk to your cast a little bit. We have Debjani and Barkha here, who played the two leading roles, two women leads in the play. Debjani, you played the bride's role, and that is one of the most coveted roles in Blood Wedding, right? And the ending scene between the neighbor and the mother and the bride, what you depicted probably was one of your most accomplished performances. As the Dulhan in Rakt Phera, what aspect of that performance challenged you the most, and especially in the last scene?
Hi, Gargi. And before I get to that, congratulations to Epic Actors Workshop. And as a theater lover, I think SATF is the best thing that happens in New Jersey's theater landscape. So congratulations to Epic on this milestone year. This the role is the most coveted role, a woman protagonist, and I was extremely blessed to have been given this opportunity to play this. However, portraying this bride, the passionate, headstrong, yet vulnerable character required some preparation that began way before the actual rehearsals, and in all characters that we portray, we have homework, but here I felt that, there was more homework than usual. And the first task was for me, was to master the language. I'm not a native Hindi speaker. I come from Kolkata, and as it is, my genders get mixed up, and my accent is probably not the perfect in Hindi. And now to top that, now we have this Rajasthani dialect. And I saw the script, I'm like, oh my God, there was a lot of apprehension when I went to audition even. But I figured, I'd have to work extra hard. So the first thing was to get fluency in your mind to prepare the character, but the dialect was something that I wanted to get out of the way and master. And then came the character analysis of the bride, the usual, the detailed objectives, super objectives, tactics, etc. One thing that helped me in preparing the psychoanalytic framework of this bride, so that my emotions were genuine on stage. I didn't have to resort to any sort of melodrama, because if you work with Mahesh, he absolutely hates that. He demands honesty from actors. And I remember in the very beginning in Masran, I heard him say, don't cry if you don't feel like crying. So don't fake your emotions. And this was my fourth play. So by now I was this disciple of Mahesh that, I was ready to learn. I remember, don't do things that are not coming from inside. Don't, because the audience, somewhere someone will catch it. So right. I think the honesty of this character, the genuine emotions, the technique that I fell back on was the rasa boxes. We were given a workshop of rasa boxes, which many of you know. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, you'll see on screen, these are the boxes, the 9 emotions that are represented through these emotions of Natya Shastra, written in Sanskrit, like Vibhatsya, Rodra, anger. And these are 3 by 3. This is a 3 by 3 grid with a blue tape around it, and actors move from one box to the other, feeling how the emotions change every time that you land on a box. And the idea is to embody them as purely as possible, but also to leave the emotion in the previous box as you go to the next one. So you have these techniques to now physicalize through voice and breathing technique every emotion very uniquely. And I think that was what I fell back on, because we were also rehearsing these rasa box, the breathing technique, every day before rehearsal. So it's not something one workshop. We got better at it. And I think that helped me harness my energy, make the emotion genuine. And there was no need for me to fly off the stage with my energy. The breathing technique, helped me ground my physical action, because as you know, the last scene was very emotional. The bride was going through a range of emotional tragedy has struck her. However, she was still reasoning with the mother-in-law to let her come back, to forgive her, to let her mourn together with her. And so she had, this monologue had a reasoning-based, expression of her sadness. So I think that this technique helped me, go through this scene as honestly as possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very important for us and our audiences to learn and know. And now to Barkha. Barkha, throughout this event, we've heard about the many hats that you wear. Of course, of being a producer, you're helping also do assistant, direction. You're assisting the director. You're in charge of the sets, props, you're coordinating the whole thing. And yet in this play, Rakt Phera, you played a lead role. So that must have been, in and of itself, must have been very challenging, along with doing all your other roles. But specifically, I want to know, in the last scene, which, of course, was your scene, the mother scene, It was such a sad, poignant scene, and it's so easy to fall prey to melodrama, right? And but hearing from all of you about what Mahesh ji doesn't want, I'm sure he did not want any melodrama in the scene. But but it's hard as an actor to avoid it, especially because the scene itself requires mourning. So on hindsight, what do you think helped you the most in that scene, and your character in general in the play?
Well, the thing that really helped was detachment from myself as Barkha Kishnani. The script is beautifully written by Abhinav Grover, and when we read the script the first time, I cried. Then at rehearsals, when that scene happened, I cried. And then the talk happened with Mahesh. And of course, the character analysis, everything is done beforehand. It is a process that we all follow. But like you said rightly, that it is very difficult to not react emotionally. And the music also, hats off to our musicians. The music was also so befitting to the script that just listening to that also we would get emotional. Thanks to our musicians on that. But I started following a process in my head that at rehearsals, I would just get emotionally detached from the scene. I would do it, but in my head, I wouldn't get myself to be so emotionally involved at that moment that I would begin to cry. So it was it was very draining if I was to do that every single rehearsal. It wouldn't have worked. And again, like you rightly said, I am more of a behind the scenes person. So I've assisted Mahesh and, have not been on stage for a very long time. So that was another thing that I had to overcome, stage fright. But finally, what really clicked was actually becoming the mother in the script, and the mother who had lost everything. And the one thing that this mother finally did not want to do was to show how vulnerable she was to anybody. There is a line in the play that I say to my neighbor, "तू रोती है जब सब तुझे देख सकते हैं, पर मैं रोऊंगी जब मुझे कोई ना देख सकेगा." So that said a lot. It wasn't that she wasn't going to cry, but she was not going to cry in front of anybody. And I would never look at my son's body right there on stage, lying next to me, because of the emotions breaking down. And one of the most difficult parts also was the lowry at the end. You can hear my voice cracking up, but the blackout would happen and my tears would fall. And by the time we did the curtain call, I would be composed again. So it was challenging, and these were the steps that I took. Every play that we did, every show that we did, I got more comfortable on stage. And thanks to the team and thanks to Mahesh for thinking that I could do the role. And it was an enjoyable experience, something I will cherish forever. And also just wanted to say, ICS is the producer of the event.
Yes, of course. ICS is the producer. What we meant was, the face of the producers. So we see you. So obviously everybody wants to say that you're the producer, but it is ICS Theatre. And thank you, ICS Theatre. And thank you, Mahesh ji. Thank you, the cast, the crew, the people behind, all the producers in ICS Theatre for giving us these lovely, delightful, and yet thought-provoking productions. And thank you so much for being here and giving us your time. Thank you, Dr. Richmond. Thank you, the cast of Tartuf, and thank you, Arnob. We are at the very end of our show. At this time, I would like to call upon one of the key core committee members of the South Asian Theatre Festival, Mr. Shajul Mukherjee, to say a few words.
Hello, can you see me and hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thanks, and sorry for the apologies for that short delay. I was trying to get the video to work, and thank you, Gargi. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak a few words towards the end of this marvelous session. A big thanks to ICS for being part of EPIC's journey. Especially, I would like to call out my dear friend Barkha. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Mr. Mahesh Dattani, Dr. Fali Reshman, Dr. Parthu Chatterjee, Dr. Arnab Banerjee for being part of this episode. And to all of you who are watching this episode, I have some updates for you. As you all know, SATF 2020 was scheduled to be held on July 31st, August 1st, and August 2nd. And given the extraordinary circumstances arising out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and keeping in mind your health, your well-being, as well as the directives from the Governor of New Jersey and CDC, we have decided to postpone the festival to early December. You must have received the email notifications. We will soon inform you the exact dates for the event. As soon as we have a firm plan, we'll come back to you on that. But we are not going to sit idle. We will continue our monthly episodes on our virtual platform. Hopefully in the next episode, and we are hoping to stage that on August 1st, we will try to present some previews of as many SATF 2020 planned performances as possible. Whatever we thought you'll be seeing on stage on those days, we will try to show you some previews wherever is possible, and wherever possible, at least get the directors to come and talk about what they had planned to present. Look forward to having you back with us for that episode. And in the meantime, please continue to send your feedback so we can continue to improve. The last few weeks have been very, very difficult for all of us in America. It's been very difficult for America as a country. George Floyd's desperate cry, "I can't breathe," as he was being killed mercilessly, has triggered protests against racism all over the country, as well as many, many cities outside of America. EPIC, as Gargi said in the very beginning, condemns racism in all forms and all shapes. Through our performances, we have repeatedly spoken out against discrimination and exploitation of all kinds, be it based on race, religion, caste, or economics. And we will continue to do so. Our protest will use the language of theater. It appears that our adopted country will soon reach the tipping point, and hopefully we'll see a positive and permanent change. You know, when I first heard the cries of "I can't breathe," I was reminded of the poem "Let America Be America Again" by Langston Hughes. I would like to end this talk today with a tribute to all those who have been victims of racism in America and anywhere in the world, but particularly in America, because this issue is so dear to our heart. And I'll do that by quoting a few lines from this poem. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great song, strong land of love, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Shajol, for that very deep, meaningful moment. I want to thank all our friends who have put this program together, from content designing, from Ghulam Sarwar Harun to technical help with Kaushik Rai Chaudhuri, Nilanjan Mitro, Shubhashish Das, Partha Chakraborty, and also Shravani Nundi, who constantly work a lot behind the scenes to bring these programs in front of you. Thank you, Shajol. Thank you, Dipanda. Until we meet again, friends, be safe, be well, wear a mask, maintain your social distancing, and please, please be kind to each other and uphold humanity. Thank you.